we go. One of my favorite topics and shows. It's Parenting Show with Sandra Jones-Keller and family. Let's bring them on to reintroduce themselves, the show, and what's up for today. Welcome back.
Thank you so much. We are thrilled to be back. We have a hot topic tonight that we've been thinking about all week. My name is Sandra Jones-Keller. I'm a conscious parenting coach and author. And joining me today is my awesome husband, Thomas Keller.
Hello, hello.
So we're broadcasting live on News for the Soul Radio and on my YouTube channel. So for those of you who want to see what we look like or who want to just join with us live on camera, go to my YouTube channel, Sandra Jones-Keller. It's that simple. You can email your questions to ontheair@telus.net. That's ontheair@telus.net, or call in to 716-333-SOUL, SOUL. And you may notice that's a different number at 716-333-7685. Maybe you have questions about discipline or bedtime or being an empty nester like us. Whatever is on your mind, we'll do our very best to answer it. So our topics are about our life.
Mm-hmm.
And
present moment.
Present moment. And so this week we are talking about she didn't come home for spring break. And she, meaning our daughter. She didn't come home for spring break.
Her first spring break.
She's a freshman in college. And it's not that we necessarily expected her to.
No.
But she ended up staying on campus by herself.
Yeah. All her friends left. Most everybody on students left.
And so for me, I guess maybe I had a fantasy that this was her first spring break. So maybe she would, go with some friends or something. She didn't want to go with her roommate.
You think you may have had a fantasy?
Okay, yes, I had a fantasy. So she didn't want to go to New York with her roommate and friends. And she didn't want to go with another friend. So she's like, I'm going to stay home. I'm going to stay here. Mm-hmm. And I was like, well, do you want to come home? She's like, no.
Mm-hmm. She was very clear, confident in her decision.
So, Thomas, what came up for you?
I'll tell you what came up for me. I felt uncomfortable. Here's the projection. I felt uncomfortable for her but the truth is, what I really felt was uncomfortable inside myself from judgments I had, because I spent a lot of the first half of my life alone, a loner. Mm-hmm. And while I used to say at the time that I was cool, I was okay with it, really I wasn't. I would much rather have been in relationships or working things out with other people, but I was a definite loner. So I was uncomfortable. Now I take my daughter so many years later and she's doing a similar pattern. So my uncomfortability had nothing to do with her because she was perfectly at peace with her decision. It was totally just bringing up all this unforgiveness, things that I had not forgiven in myself from 20, 30 years ago. That's called projection.
What came out? A lot came up for me. One, it was like, she's going to be there by herself.
That's it.
I know. But it was like, is she going to be okay? MJ, did you check to see if the dining hall is open? I don't know. Well, what are the hours of the dining hall?
MJ is what we are calling her for the show.
Because she doesn't have a car. She doesn't, drive. Well, she knows how to drive, but she doesn't have a car. So she's on campus. And so I had a lot of concerns, I guess, but mine were like practical. Okay. Food. My life is around food.
Will she starve to death? The school is in a city.
Will she starve to death? It was like, did you find out if the dining hall's open? Are the restaurants open? Do you have food? How can you get into town if you need, she is not like out in the middle of nowhere. And she can actually walk to someplace or bike to someplace if she needs to.
And this is a 19-year-old young adult.
And so that's what came up for me. And then also, will she be lonely?
Yeah, now that's the one that got me.
You know, like what is she going to do? Like, what is there to do? What is she going to do? And then I was saying, oh, well, are there other people on your floor? Yeah. I'm like, oh, well, maybe you could reach out and see what they're doing or make a new friend. No.
And but check this out. She's an only child. She grew up being solo, having her own bedroom the whole time, just to doing craft projects, paintings, and embroidery, all kinds of stuff in her room by herself. And she actually has enjoyed that immensely throughout her lifetime.
Yeah.
But
So
that wasn't quelling your concern.
Well, okay, that was fine because she was at home. And so it was like,
yeah,
well,
I understand.
Do you want to go make a new friend? No.
Listen to you. You want to go make a new friend?
I know it's ridiculous. It's ridiculous, right?
She wasn't concerned. We were terribly concerned.
And she actually finally said, you know, you guys are way more concerned about this than I am. And I said, you know what, honey, that's usually the case.
Yeah.
And it's still, let's see, what else was there for me?
More?
You talked about the loner. So I have been a loner a lot of my life. I actually really enjoy my alone time. And even though I enjoy it, the thought of her being on campus alone was kind of disturbing for me.
Here's the thing. You have two loners who found each other who can't be alone anymore. The irony of it all.
No, that's not true. We spend a lot of time apart.
We do.
Yeah. So you like your alone time. I like my alone time.
We do.
She likes her alone time.
She loves her alone time.
And so, you know, it's funny. I found myself falling into the pattern of trying to fix it for her, even though there was nothing broken.
Right.
But it was like, let me fix this. Okay, go make a friend. Go.
So you're planning outings for her like she's 5 years old.
Oh my God. And so she was just so not interested.
Right.
At all.
She was not. And the week went fast. We're already at Friday night.
Yeah. Okay. So some people may say, well, why didn't you insist that she come home? And for me, because she didn't want to come home.
Mm-hmm.
Like she has everything there in walking distance.
Mm-hmm.
She can walk to the gym. She can walk and get food. She took the bus to the store and stuff. So she has everything in walking distance.
Mm-hmm.
And so to try to, in quote unquote, insist that she come home would have been imposing on what she wanted to do.
Right.
You have any thoughts about that?
I do. Get your emails in quickly because I see they're coming in already. And so make sure you get a spot. Usually for this 1 hour show, we only get to like 5 emails. So because we're talking deep subjects that require a bit of time to understand.
Ooh, these are long questions too. Go ahead. What were you going to say about that?
Whole deep
I know. Okay, go ahead.
That's all. Just get your emails. What's the email address?
On the air at telus.net. Okay,
right.
Let's see if I can read this. Sharon in Alberta. My 19-year-old daughter is attending university in a different province. In all the years growing up, we have always taken a special mother-daughter trip, often on sacred journey experience, which has meant so much to us, or so I thought. This year I was told it's off, and although I understand it, I can't help feeling completely crushed. I was shocked at the wave of emotions. I was hit with a mean crying over it literally and often. Please, how do I process this in a healthy, conscious way?
That's a great question.
Sharon in Alberta. Well, that's exactly what we're talking about.
Let's start with this. Because she's indicated to me in their language that she's a spiritual person. Because I think she referred to it not as spiritual,
a sacred journey.
Sacred journey.
Yeah.
So, and that probably means a whole lot to her. Tell her how much meditating meant to our daughter who grew up with us meditating, taking her to circles, Egypt, sacred journeys, all of that.
Oh, not at all. Okay, but Sharon, so we are actually just talking about that. So our daughter is a freshman. She's 1,000 miles away in college and chose not to come home for spring break, not to go with her friends somewhere fun, but to stay on campus by herself. I don't even know that she talked to anyone. I mean, there was people like on her floor, but she had no interest in finding out who they were or what they were doing. And I was just talking about why didn't we insist that she come home? And so, Sharon in Alberta, I really get that we have these rituals and these things that we do with our kids. Our daughter is 19 also, and she's finding her own way. She wanted to stay there. She wanted to explore or do whatever she wanted to do there. And so whatever came up for me, like, oh, she could have come home. She could have come here and hung out and, done some ice skating or visited some friends. Whatever I thought would be a good idea, she really just wanted to stay. So what I'll say, Sharon, is that at 19, they're really finding their way. And it's not to say that you won't ever go on your sacred journeys again. But you remember when you were 19, you kind of want to figure out who you are, what you like, what you dislike, what works for you, what doesn't. And that's what I feel like our daughter's doing, is finding out what works for her. And so I'm going to say to you, how do you process this in a healthy, conscious way? You allow yourself to cry, and then you do your forgiveness work on whatever's coming up for you. And all forgiveness is self-forgiveness. So it's not that your daughter did anything wrong, but do your forgiveness work around your expectation of what it was going to look like, wanting to hold on, of wanting things to remain the same. And so I would say do your forgiveness work, bless the situation, and then allow for something new and wonderful to emerge. Let her go and allow something new and wonderful to emerge. And when those feelings of disappointment and hurt come up, just keep forgiving them. It doesn't mean that she's rejecting you. It doesn't mean that she doesn't love you. It just feels like she had something else she wanted to do right now. And she may come back, or she may even suggest in a couple months that you guys do something together. But you want to hold the space for her to do that. You want to be open. I mean, we as parents want to create the space where our children feel safe to explore, to go out, but then to also come home. What do you want to say about that?
Oh, that's it. I think it's a very heart tugging situation, and I think that with our daughter, we've always raised her to be very self-determined. She makes her own decisions from a very early age, and then she lives with the consequences of those decisions. So when our daughter chose to stay at the university for spring break
by herself,
I didn't know what it would mean for her. I just knew that I had to do my own personal work about my judgments about it. But whatever happens, she is going to learn from it. Maybe she'll learn she doesn't like being alone that much anymore. Maybe she learned she does like being alone and with other people. So she's not going to go without learning, because our spirit, like in Course in Miracles, everything is a lesson from God. What's that line? But everything is, and it's going to be a great lesson for her. And at this time, even though it doesn't really work for you and it's hard for you right now. So what my wife said about doing your own forgiveness work is right on the mark as far as we're concerned. And I know that pulling apart of the energies between a child and a parent, it hurts, and don't over spiritualize it and
we're
say
going through it now.
Don't say all the language. Feel what you're going to feel. Yeah. Just be honest with it. Cry, throw a fit, whatever, and process it however you want to process it. And just let it be.
But don't make her wrong for the choice that she made.
Of course not.
Thank you, Sharon and Alberta. Okay, we have a chat. Can you read that? We have to put our glasses on.
I know this person, Chris in St. Louis. When and how do you stop getting that hole in your heart feeling when you miss the closeness of them being with you 24/7?
Moment by moment by moment
When and how do you
by
stop?
moment.
Yes, and it has surprised us at different times when we thought we were cool, and then we separated or left her at college and went our way. We got You got hurt, or it hurt you more the last time than
Yeah,
when we originally took
when
her.
we dropped her off in August, you were way more emotional than I was.
I was.
Then we went and visited in October, and I was like, I had a moment where I just couldn't breathe. It was just like just this emotion. And oh my God, I'm leaving her, or I'm saying goodbye, and like all this stuff came up for me.
Mm-hmm.
But Chris, I will say that it's a moment by moment by moment thing. And becoming an empty nester, there's no rule book for it. Everyone experiences it differently. But what has definitely supported me, and you can speak for you, is that we homeschooled. So that meant we spent a lot of time together. But I actually planned and started doing things outside of homeschooling, knowing that she'd be leaving so that I could pour my energy into something else. Because as a homeschool mom and parents, you pour so much
Mm-hmm.
into your kids. And so then you have all that energy and all that time that you used to spend with them.
Mm-hmm.
And you're looking around like, what the heck do I do with myself? And what you do with yourself is you allow yourself to grieve, if that's what's there for you.
Mm-hmm.
And then you start moment by moment finding things that are exciting for you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because you have a life to live that goes beyond being a parent. We all do. And so you got to raise these amazing kids, and now they're off doing their life, and now you get to find something for this section of your life. So I don't know that it ever goes away, but you can feel it with joy, and you can still have a very fulfilling and rewarding life doing things that you're passionate about.
Yeah, and we always want to be living demonstrations to our daughter, our child, of how sweet life can be. And so we want to just make sure in this phase of our life that we fulfill ourselves, whatever that means in whatever way that means, so that we're living excited examples of life.
Let's see, is this all the same question? My youngest
Yeah,
is
I think so.
25 and it still hurts sometimes.
No rule book. Don't judge anything. It can hurt 5-10 years later.
So we love our kids. I am just surprised at how much emotion comes up for me around my daughter.
Mm-hmm.
And like just watching her skate or watching her do anything. So we love our kids. So it's okay to miss them. It's okay to want to see them and to hang out. And it's okay to be happy without them. So you having a fulfilling life does not mean that you don't love them anymore or that you don't miss them. It means that for this period of time, they were with you and now they're not. And now you're establishing a different type of relationship. Just like you left your home environment, they left theirs.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you so much, Chris.
All right.
Marion in New Zealand.
Yeah, maybe. Marion in New Zealand. I often find myself really struggling with the conscious parenting approach. I'm trying to avoid power tripping at all costs, but it feels like my kids are just taking advantage of me, not taking the authoritarian approach, often to the point where it seems flat out disrespectful. They think of my positive conscious approach to things as weak and silly and ineffective. I really need some help and advice as I am doubting myself. Whoa.
Thank you, Marion. I just did a workshop, and I'll do another one in March. It was called From Conflict to Connection, 3 conscious tools to stop the power struggles and transform your child's behavior. So conscious parenting is not willy-nilly. It's not being like someone that you can just walk all over. it's being very clear. It's teaching self-regulation. It's teaching self-respect. It's teaching them how to discipline themselves. And in my workshop, I give you 3 conscious tools, and one of them is about creating a partnership, not a dictatorship, and it's about letting go of control and your agenda. And so oftentimes we think as parents, it's like, it's my way or the highway, do as I say, all of that old stuff. And so creating a partnership is not being weak, but you got to be clear. And so I gave examples of how I created a partnership with my daughter for her bedtime or for other things. Mm-hmm. And so once you learn specific tools, then you can actually have the discipline and the self-regulation. Our daughter learned to put herself to bed at 4 years old because we created a partnership and we created an agreement. And so from that, she learned how to make and keep agreements. She learned how to be responsible, and she learned how to self-regulate. And so these are things that you teach. And then once you start talking about universal laws, which is one of our big paradigms that we use, and the golden rule, do as to others as you would have them do unto you. And so once you start learning that the universe is governed by these principles that are in effect, whether you are aware of them or not, and you start practicing universal laws, teaching your kids universal laws, that they are responsible for how their life is going. So if there's things that they don't like, then they have control over it. And Thomas is itching to talk about mirroring. So I'm going to finish my part, and then I'm going to let you. But conscious tools are very powerful because the kids coming in today are very different. They're more advanced. They think more globally. And a lot of them are, I call new age kids, these old souls that do have a higher level of consciousness. And so you want to have your parenting match the kids that are in front of you by updating your parenting techniques and tools so that you are dealing with the kid in front of you and not trying to bring all of this old stuff that maybe you learned into your parenting with these kids who are in front of you, and it's just maybe not relevant. Okay, so now you want to talk about mirroring. Go ahead.
I do. We're going to go deep, Marion. And it starts with this. There is a tool that I've used for 25 years and to completely transform my life. And Sandra has used it many, many, many times over the years, and it always works perfectly. It's called mirroring, or the mirror. So here's the premise. Everyone in our circle, our kids, our spouse, our closest friends, are going to be reflections of our own consciousness. So we are a projector streaming out our consciousness, and our friends and siblings and even children are going to reflect to us what we're really thinking underneath the conscious level. So a lot of these things that they're going to reflect to us, we're going to love. They're honest, or they're generous, or they're truthful, or they speak up, whatever it is that really feels great to get that reflection. And a whole bunch of those things we're neutral about and indifferent. It's fine. And then a few of those things are going to disturb us. Maybe lying, cheating, bullying, pushing people around. It could be anything, gossiping. And those few things that disturb us internally, and we have to be real honest with ourselves, are what our kids or our parent or our siblings or our spouse are reflecting to us that is in our consciousness, but we don't want to face it. So we project it out onto other people. The thing is, if we can accept that let's say a liar, I'm just taking anything off the top of my head. I have a dear friend that is constantly lying, even lies in front of my face. I know he's making up stuff, and it disturbs me inside. I can't believe this guy's doing that. It's not his problem. It's my consciousness that's projecting that onto them. If I can own that and then take that and do a self-forgiveness work on that particular seed of consciousness, and forgive myself for doing it in the past or doing it currently out loud or just in my mind, it all rates the same. If I can forgive myself and knock it off, then it will disappear in them. And then that frees up that life energy in ourselves that was held up in that tight bundle called negative judgments that we won't face unless someone's right in front of our face showing it to us.
Okay. Let me give a very specific example because that's very broad.
That's what I wanted, a broad start. I set it up perfectly.
Okay, so I was talking to a mom, and she was complaining that her 3-year-old daughter had started pinching and telling little white lies. So my first question is always, well, what's going on in the house? Oh, nothing. I don't know why she would be doing that. So I just sit and hold the space and, talked a little bit more. And then finally the mom said, oh, well, I've been kind of whacking her arm to get her to stop misbehaving. And I've been lying about not having any more candy. Instead of just saying you can't have any candy, I've been lying. And so her 3-year-old was mirroring the mother's behavior. So now in the past, it was about punishment and it was about control. It's like my kid is lying, my kid is hitting, I'm going to punish them. But when you talk about conscious parenting and what Thomas is talking about, the mirror, it's like you can't go around hitting and lying and then not expect your kids to, because they are mirroring back to you your behavior. They're mirroring back to you your consciousness. So the first thing to do is knock it off. Like the mom, I told her, you have to knock off the behavior. And then you do your forgiveness work. And then you recommit to something else. So that's like a very specific tool. So when you talk about positive conscious approach, it is not weak at all. This is some very deep, soulful work. And when you start really getting it and uncovering all of that stuff, because you're calling it conscious approach, and some of the things that I've seen or been labeled conscious are really kind of about letting your kids do whatever they want or not saying no or all of this other stuff. And that is not what we're talking about.
Right. You can't learn the law of consequences if you're always interrupting the cause and effect chain. So every cause has an effect. Our daughter, we told her she can eat all the sugar she wants at 11 years old. Is that 9?
No, I think it was 11.
11 after she started complaining about it. We said, you're going to now have the consequences. You can decide how much you want. She overdosed.
Big time.
Big time. And then
for a while.
For a while. And then she adjusted and adapted to it on her own because we weren't going to boss her around like that anymore. She got the responsibility and felt the power in making decisions for herself.
And then, one day, and this is actually, this is actually a story in my book, Tips and Trips of Parenting a New Age Kid. And it all started with the ice cream, where we let her self-regulate her sugar. And then one day, I think maybe she was 14, 15, I noticed that I hadn't been buying her treats and I hadn't been buying the usual snacks. And I asked her about it. And she said, well, I realized that I wasn't going to exercise in proportion to the amount of sugar that I was eating. So I reduced my sugar. It was like, whoa. And so that's what we're talking about with conscious parenting, is having your kids be able to self-regulate themselves so that they have the life that they want. So Thomas has a book called The Mirror. And if you're on our YouTube channel, he just held it up.
The Mirror is on Amazon, as well as Sandra's 2 books. The Mirror by Thomas Keller is on Amazon. Your 2 books are also on Amazon. 21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid by Sandra Jones-Keller. and tips and trips of parenting a new age kid, Sandra Jones-Keller.
Okay, so I forgot to thank the
You can
mic.
do this, Marion. You're strong and you're a powerful woman.
Thank you for your questions. The
Oh.
internet is very slow today, so
All right.
just kind of bear with us. So we have more questions. So
Oh.
let me.
All right, well, then we will. So
Oh, okay. All right. So going back to empty nesters. So we are in a transition where our daughter. Okay, we just got two more questions. Where our daughter, and I'm going to say this real quick, and then we'll come back to it. Where our daughter is an emerging adult, and so this summer I have a retreat that I want to go to out in California, on the other coast, out in California.
Mm-hmm.
And I really want to go to it. So I asked my daughter if she wanted to go, and she said no. She was very clear. No, I don't want to go. And so then Thomas was not going to go to California because he felt like he needed to stay here.
Because of my daughter would be here.
And so I finally said to him, I said, you really want to do what's authentic for you, because she's an adult now and she's making these choices to stay. And so I'm not comfortable with it yet. I'm not saying that I am, but these are the transitions that we go through as parents of learning to let go of our kids.
So I changed my mind completely. I'm now going to go out to California, which I originally wanted to do, but wouldn't allow myself to do because my daughter would need me without ever talking to me for the whole week. And so
he would be sitting
I know,
downstairs.
My turn. So I'm going out to California. We're going to do the Big Sur Coast, one of my favorite places in the world. Just mom and I, and then we'll see our daughter in a week.
Yeah, so not comfortable yet, but it's inauthentic for us not to go, given that she lives on her own and she's an adult and has chosen not to come with us. So
yes.
We are still walking this walk with all of you parents.
Yes.
Brandy in New York.
We get a lot of New Yorkers.
It's my turn.
Yeah, I know, but we get a lot of New Yorkers. What's going on up there?
Okay, my 11-year-old daughter has been showing symptoms of an eating disorder. I'm wondering what conscious parenting advice you might have for us. I've got her seeing a doctor and school counselor, but their approaches don't seem to be getting to the real issues. Ooh. All right, Brandy in New York. There's a couple of different ways that we're going to approach this.
Mm-hmm.
So one, Thomas just talked about the mirror. And this is where I mean that conscious parenting is not willy-nilly. Conscious parenting allows you to heal and transform situations, not just try to deal with the external. So an eating disorder, there's something going on, there's a pain, I would say, going on internally. And that the eating disorder is just a symptom of that. So what I would say from a conscious parenting perspective as a mom is, first, I would do my own forgiveness work. I would look to see what my daughter is showing me. And what's interesting about about mirroring work is it's different for everyone. Like Thomas and I can see the same thing in our daughter, but it means completely different things to us, because I'm getting my own personal curriculum and he's getting his personal curriculum. So I can't say like exactly what it means, but she's in your house. So I would start like tapping into your intuition and see what this pain is and where it hurts you and what it means to you, and start doing your forgiveness work. Start tapping into your intuition to start getting answers from not only your higher self, but asking her higher self, how can I support her? What does she need? And start doing your forgiveness work, and then ask for guidance from your higher self. Like, where do we go from here? How do I support my daughter? And once you start getting these answers internally, it'll be easier to figure out a plan of action. So that's where I would start.
Now, you've heard the female answer. As the male, I have one simple sentence that will uncover what it is that's really disturbing you. So your daughter is showing you something. In your most frustration, don't say this out loud to her because it's not relevant, but in your most frustrating moments internally by yourself, what is one sentence that you would want to shout at her? And that one sentence is going to reveal what it is that you are doing to yourself or doing to other people in the world that is so disturbing to you.
Okay, you got to remember, you've been doing this work for 25 years.
Yes.
So you got to break it down.
Let me break it down. Let's say I have a friend. Well, I'm going back to the original example. A friend who just lies, just makes up stuff. And it disturbs me. Other people, it doesn't bother at all, but it disturbs me.
Okay, hold on.
No,
because that's out there somewhere. So
no, it's not.
No, hold on.
You haven't heard the example.
Find something specific about our daughter that disturbs you so that you can walk them through the process.
My daughter, this is easy because my daughter disturbed me about a few things. But if I wanted to shout something at her in my most frustrating moment, I'd say, "Talk more, GD." And that's because that's what frustrates me about her. It's one or two words at the most. And then I have to come up with another sentence and another one. So say something or say more. Be more specific. Now, that's my disturbance.
Okay.
So then I turn it back onto myself and say, where am I just saying so little that I'm not expressing myself either out to other people or not even expressing myself fully in my own head, thinking my thoughts all the way through? Because that's going to reveal to me where I need to change myself. And then once I get that, it usually comes a little while after, anyway, from an hour to a couple of days. I'll have that aha moment and it'll say, oh, that's where I do that. I just give one word responses to my wife in certain situations. And that is where I need to do my own self-forgiveness for being short in that way. Because once I do that, and you want to tell them about Ho'oponopono as a forgiveness, into them in a minute, but everyone has to discover their own self-forgiveness process. Once I actually authentically do it, that energy is dissolved that I'm holding inside of myself, and that releases life energy into me. And my daughters, I never even have a conversation with her about this. Her behavior will change, or I won't even see it anymore and won't be disturbed by it, because I did my own personal work on the reflection from the mirror.
Okay, so I'm going to use an example. So one thing.
Mine wasn't good?
Well, I mean, like I said, you want to anchor in these principles for people, because it's
I know.
It kind of goes in one ear and out the other.
That was more than one word answer.
Yeah. Okay. So one thing that bothers me about my daughter is I can make 50 delicious meals, and I'll even make stuff that she requested, and she'll never say, "Thanks, Mom, that was great," or "This is delicious." He'll say, "Oh, this is really good." 50 delicious. I'll make one meal that has a little too much salt or something, and she'll say, "Oh, this is salty." And you know what I'm saying inside is F you. And so I had to really look at what is that? And so what I circled it back to is my own internal self-criticism. Mm-hmm. Look at, I'm losing my voice. That I don't acknowledge all the things that I do, all the ways in which I contribute. And then that one thing that maybe I didn't do just right or I wasn't happy with is what I focus on.
Right. Me too.
And so she was showing me how critical I am. And apparently I haven't nailed it, because she's
not complimenting her.
She's still not complimenting me. So that's how we use the mirror for parenting
And check this.
and for life.
Yes, and check this out,
What?
because she will say thank you to me for different things. As something as simple
Oh,
as
she
how.
will?
Never mind. Let's
No,
go on with the next subject.
Go ahead. See, I want to hear it. Like what?
She will, for something as simple as holding the door open when she's rolling her ice skating bag out there and everything. So we all perceive one person completely differently. She's disturbed and doesn't hear it. I am a little less self-critical, or
Please.
in different ways. So my daughter will say it, but
okay.
that's
So
the bottom line.
So Brandy, back to you. We did not go off on a tangent completely unrelated to your question. We were trying to give you examples of what our kids are showing us. And so if you're perceiving that your daughter has an eating disorder, in the conscious parenting that we do, we look to see what's disturbing us, what could possibly be askew. Where do I hurt myself? An eating disorder. Where do I hurt myself? Or where do I not like my body?
Mm-hmm.
Where do I punish myself? And so maybe it looks different, but those are the questions you can start asking yourself, Brandy. It's like, okay, when I look at my daughter doing this, I see her punishing, or I see whatever. So then it's like the self-reflection is, where do I punish myself? Where do I dislike myself so much that I'm trying to be thin or whatever it is?
I won't nourish my body.
I won't nourish my body.
It all depends on how you perceive
Mm-hmm.
what she's doing, because I'll say different words, Sandra will say different words. But do everybody look up on YouTube, Ho'oponopono. It's an ancient Hawaiian. Dr. Hugh Lin.
L-E-N.
L-E-N. It's an ancient Hawaiian self-forgiveness process that is really quite unique and works great. And I still use it after 25 years.
Oh, I use it all the time. Yes, absolutely. Okay, you want to see?
All right,
Cecilia
just one
in
other,
the UK. Go ahead.
In between answers, we laugh a lot because this is heavy, deep information. And so to balance it and not make it all too weighty, we laugh a lot. And we've been doing this 25 years, so we can laugh a lot at ourselves. But don't let that mean that we're not taking what you say or writing about absolutely, sincerely, and deeply, because we are.
No, I didn't feel like we were, but okay.
I guess I just got a little
more
guilt.
You got a little triggered by that. All right. See, there you go. Read it. Cecilia in the UK. I feel like we were really being responsive to people.
Cecilia in the UK. And thank you, Brandy. I'm trying to support my son's exploration of other religions. We have a strong spiritual history and lineage within our family tree. I'm wanting to support his exploration, but I do not want to support his criticism of our choices and views, which has been causing us problems with various family members fighting at gatherings. Any help you have is appreciated. That's a great question.
You want to start or want me to start?
No, you can start.
Okay, so I wanted to support his exploration, but that's where. Okay, I don't think anyone has the right to be mean or critical of other people. And so that's kind of the foundation that I would start with. We don't have to agree, but you don't get to call names, you don't get to be mean, and you don't get to be judgmental. And so it sounds like a lot of his behavior is because he's still not comfortable with who he is. When we're not comfortable with who we are, then we project that onto other people, and it can look like judgment. It can look like criticism. So I would say that behavior of criticizing is coming from his own discomfort with who he is or where he is at this point of his life. Because people who are comfortable in their own skin aren't worried about what other people are doing. Like they're not out there trying to convert anybody because they're comfortable and grounded within.
Mm-hmm.
And so we're talking about mirroring a lot tonight. So Cecilia, then what I would invite you to do is, one, look at the mirror, look at where you're being critical of other religions, even if you don't say it out loud. You may think it, and start doing your forgiveness work on your own criticism, your own judgment, and the ways in which you have maybe tried to put down people, because that's part of what's showing you, and the other family members, because we've been involved in, a number of different organizations, and there's a superiority that kind of happens when you're involved in something, and it's an attitude and it's a judgment. So I invite you to begin to go within. We've been talking about mirroring a lot tonight, and look to see where maybe you're being critical or judgmental. Start doing your own forgiveness work. See what shows up. And then, like I said, I don't think anyone has the right to be mean or critical to other people. And then I would have that conversation with him. What do you want to say about it?
No, I'm just agreeing with you completely. I think, Cecilia, the language you use indicates, yes, you have some judgments, some negative judgments about what he's doing, and your way is the right way. And that's just all negative judgments.
Because we have a strong spiritual history and lineage within our family trees. Yeah. So
that wasn't the line that got me. It was I do want to support him. So you're not supporting him, but you do want to support him. That means you're not supporting him. So you got a split there in personality or whatever. Wanting to is not. That's the bottom line.
So anything else you want to say about that?
No, I think just what you said is right on the mark. I think it's great.
And so for those of you who would like more support on this conscious parenting journey, I do offer free complimentary conscious connection calls. And in these calls, we would look at your particular situation and do a mini plan to find out what would be your best course of action. We get trainers for the gym. We get business mentors, but we don't think about a parenting mentor because we think we should be able to do it. And I know that from where I came is a long place from where I'm at now.
Yeah, if you look at your parents' handbook and my parents' handbook, no.
So
go ahead. I interrupted you.
So Sandra Jones-Keller, a free conscious connection call, where if you're looking for support on your conscious parenting journey, I've got lots of tools. And we talk about mirroring a lot on this show because, man, once you really understand mirroring and how to use mirroring, it is life-changing. But some of these concepts aren't complicated, but you may need some hand-holding to really dig in and to have someone hold you accountable and to help you begin to dissect all that's going on and understanding it.
Yeah, nothing you said could be any truer than that, because it takes time and repetition to change the way you've been thinking your entire life. And now you have to turn everything back as a reflection on you. So remind is what a coach does.
Yeah. Thank you, Cecilia in the UK. Let's see if we have any other questions.
Oh, I hope so.
Oh, okay. Oh my gosh.
Oh, we're not going to get to them all, but
let's see. Hold on.
We're at 651.
Yes. So Nicole is saying there are a lot of Ho'opono archives on News for the Soul Radio.
Okay.
It is such a powerful tool. So I was talking about how this summer our daughter does not want to go on a trip. Now, we've been traveling with her whole life. She's gone everywhere with us. And now she's at the age where she can choose. It's like, and it's very uncomfortable.
For us, not for her.
For us. I'm like, we're going to leave her alone. Now, for some people, maybe it's not a big deal. We homeschool. We've done a lot together. And my God, we're going to leave her. And we're going to leave her because it's inauthentic for us not to go on a trip that we really want to go on.
Mhm.
And it would be inauthentic for her to go on the trip that she doesn't want to go on.
Yeah.
And so this is part of our learning, is recognizing that she's an adult and she can choose. And no matter how uncomfortable I am with the choice, I'm going to do my own forgiveness work. So we're not just suggesting Ho'oponopono to you. This is something that we use on a daily basis, because as parents, you got stuff that comes up. It's like, whoa. And what do? We dig right in. We do our work. We do our conscious parenting work. We do our forgiveness work so that we can live those fulfilling and rewarding lives.
Right.
Not trying to make someone do something they don't want to do, or not doing something that I really want to do. And that's been a big transition for me as a homeschool mom, is saying,
every time you dissolve one of those mirror reflections inside of yourself, you free up more life energy to feel better, to feel more energized, to feel more alive. I'm 650 years old.
650 years old.
Well, maybe not, but we really just do have more life energy.
Yeah. All right, sweetie. So we've come to the end of our show.
I can't
Already.
believe it. We should do a 4-hour show.
So thank you for joining us. Thomas and I are here the second Friday of each month on the Conscious Parenting Show at 6 p.m. here on News for the Soul Radio. Please visit the News for the Soul archives for more enlightening shows. This was actually our 35th show, which means you've got 34 more shows that you can go and listen to.
Mm-hmm.
My books are available on Amazon: Tips and Trips of Parenting a New Age Kid, 21 Lessons to Empower the New Age Kid. Thomas's book is available on Amazon, The Mirror. These are life-changing resources. Conscious parenting, the tools that we use and teach are not hard to learn, but you got to discern when and how to use them.
And practice, and go deeper and deeper. And that's what a coach guides you to.
That's what a coach guides you to. We're fortunate that we have each other, that we're in alignment with how we live our life, the things that are important to us, and that we both dig in and do our forgiveness work.
Mm-hmm.
Been another amazing show. Thank you so much for being with us. Until next time, happy parenting.
Happy parenting.
Mm-mm.